Hi, my name is Vijay Skimli, student ID 30393901. Today I am going to talk about the contribution and engagement I have been through the ITECH 7415 Master Project and reflect myself about the lessons learned, skill set applied, and how I overcame as a member of a group for the successful completion of the project. The project we worked upon was the analysis of defective and recall products using retail sales and returns data. Talking about the project stakeholders, our project coordinator is Dr. Naga Dasari, client was Rajvinder Kaur and Rajesh Tota was the supervisor. My team members are Saida Tabir Sohail, who was our project manager and business analyst. Hasib Ramzad and myself worked as a dashboard designer and business analyst of the team. The role was divided upon most contribution upon each category, but overall each individual has contributed to each other area and roles as well. That's how we completed the project as a team. Our client gave us a proposal of a company called ODX Clothing, which is a national retailer and manufacturer of clothing. The problem statement of the business was ODX company is a leading national retailer company with 3 warehouse stores. The company sales are good, but the problem is many products are returned from the customers due to defects and company received refund request from the customer. And we proposed the solution as a business intelligence dashboard connected to real-time database to analyze the reasons for recall, returns and defects for the betterment of product quality, sales and revenue. The project objectives were to create an entity relationship diagram and the data model for the company which will implement a database by using SQL commands, to create 3 to 4 years of data using dummy data for a retailer company called ODX Retailer that could manage the product details and their defects, and to create visualization dashboard reports to help business owner and relevant personnel to see the production activities by using Microsoft Power BI tools. Now the project scope. The scope of the project was to identify the risk related to retail products like how bad quality, returns, defects and product recalls affect the business and its sales, also the revenue. So to test the graph and measurement, we visualize using a BI tool to find out necessary solution. Another scope is to find out the estimated recalls related to sales, cost, profit, loss and revenue. Tally the present case with existing case studies through research methodologies and to discuss of the reason for recall products. So our project had a schedule and we worked in different phases of the project. So I have listed the skill set I have applied and contribution I did in each phase of the project. Number one is project storyboard, where I use the skill sets of project approach, communication plans, user stories write-up. And number two is product roadmap, where I worked upon project backlog, project schedule, redefine user stories, etc. And other one is sprint one, when I worked over database design, EI diagram, data collection, data filtering and normalization. And in sprint 2 I worked upon research, visualization, functions and calculations for the visualization. In sprint 3 I worked in the research part, dashboard design, analytical and predictive approaches. And in the live product demo I presented the project and the product with using my communication skills. And last one is project write-up, where I contributed in the part of literature review, research, scope, limitation and the conclusion. So the first phase was to create the project storyboard, where I learned and explained about the project approach, designed the communication plan and contributed my part in writing the user stories. So as you know, how important are user stories in order to start off and make a project plan. They reflect the acceptance criteria and the requirement that should be functioning in the end product. Brainstorming, analyze and research was done in order to write up the user stories to fulfill the product and client requirements. During the roadmap phase, the project problem statement objective was written within discussion between the group members and finalized within the feedback of client, supervisor and our project coordinator. In this phase, I made changes to the user stories to make them more specific than it was more general when I wrote it in the project storyboard, and learned that with appropriate project methodology, continuous changes can be made in order to live up with the client and project expectations. Other than that, product backlogs were created and divided among sprints, and the user stories were assigned to the team members, and I also familiarized myself with the design tools to design the Gantt chart. Now sprint 1. In sprint 1, the contribution I did and the task that I was engaged with was ER diagram, database structure design and research. So what skill set and approaches did I use to accomplish the task I was assigned to in sprint 1? First one was the designing of the ER diagram, where I used my designing skills using the draw.io web application, which is a free platform to create flowcharts, ER diagram, Gantt chart, process diagrams, etc. Second was to design the database structure. To design the database structure, I used a roughly sketched approach in order to determine the tables and relations along with entity and attributes. Then I used the PHP language along with MySQL over the XAMPP platform in order to create the tables and database. Few lines of codes were written in PHP with connection to MySQL database, and by executing those codes, database and tables were created. So these are the contributions I made in Sprint 2. One of them was to add the data in the production table, and the other two ways to create the visualization to see the top selling products and to see the product written dashboard. And the third thing I did was to research upon case studies. Now I'm going to discuss about how I overcame and did the task that I was allocated in Sprint 2. In this sprint, I worked upon the addition of data to the database tables, which I did creating queries with counter and loops in order to insert hundreds of rows of dummy data to the database. For this, I used my SQL queries and database within the XAMPP server. Another part I worked upon during this sprint was visualization that reflects the user stories, where I created the visualization according to the user stories requirements and tested it to the acceptance criteria. Some addition difference functions were used in order to see the values for the calculations in Power BI. For research, I came up with different clothing brands like Adidas and Nike case studies, where I collected data about recall quantity, reasons for recalls, and its effect on the business. So Sprint 3 was all about dashboard creation and visualization using Power BI, where I worked upon 6 different user stories, and some of the visualizations I created over this sprint were the total number of returns due to defects, returns item based on stores, total amount of product returned by the customer, and so on. Now my approach and learnings over Sprint 3. Based upon the user stories I was allocated on Sprint 3, I mostly worked upon Power BI, creating the visualization and designing the dashboard. Broader exposure to Power BI, visualization, and dashboard designing was obtained within this sprint. I learned about using the functions and calculations in Power BI in order to make the visualization and numbers more informative. I also used the predictive analysis tool in Power BI, which helps to forecast the data, numbers, and trends based on current data. I researched, watched videos, and created filters, bookmarks to make the visualization and dashboard more user-friendly and most importantly interactive, so that it is easy to use for the end user even with less technical knowledge and minimal training. Also, research was done over the case studies related to product recalls. A project promo video was created within the team effort, and during this task, the approaches made and knowledge gained were creation of a product advertisement in general targeting to common people rather than technical people, use of audio and video animation to make it more interactive and informative, use of online animation making tools and techniques. We did present the product live after the completion with the presence of our project coordinator and other teams. The skills that were gained are presentation skills that enhance our confidence and public speaking, questions and feedbacks and critics in order to make the project better by identifying missing bits and flaws. Since I'm going to graduate and looking for an industry experience, this was like a real world experience to where in future I'll be demonstrating by my product in front of professionals and different people from different backgrounds. Extensive research was done using different research methodologies in order to write the report and its contents. Literature reviews were done by me upon the report. I also worked upon the scope and limitation of the project, where I wrote about the scope of project in which the product will help to ease the business process and satisfy the client's need. I wrote the project limitation for which our product is limited to, and finally evaluated the project and the product. So I can conclude that overcoming this project during the whole period, I can reflect that I was engaged, involved, and exposed to the application of theoretical and technical knowledge, practical and real-world simulated experience, exposure to project and product management approaches, and also this would be really helpful because it's career-oriented and we will go through the same project management approaches when we step up into the industry. The lessons learned about the project management and completion and the feedbacks from the client's supervisor and the project coordinator were valuable. Thank you.